Hello and welcome to the Engerati studio. I'm joined here by Jonas Wejdin, the Head of Business Development for Utilities at DigitalRoute. Jonas, welcome.
Thank you, Rob.
So let's talk about IoT. So it could be said that successful IoT strategies are actually data-driven.
Yeah.
So how do you recommend that utilities approach that?
Oh, that's a good question, Rob. I mean, probably better to start by saying how you won't, or a bad way to address it, I would say. And from what I've seen in our experience, I think starting with IT and technology is probably not going to be a very successful approach. It's proven many times that you invest in technology that's going to be useless once you start to realize what you really want to do. From our perspective, many times the companies who succeed the most, Fortum and Alpic, they choose it from a business perspective instead. They start by understanding their business processes, how they want them to change over time, and how a data-driven strategy can support that change. So data is secondary to the actual objective, which is improving business.
So, I mean, you've answered this to an extent, but what are the most important questions that a utility should ask themselves when they begin this approach?
Plan for change. That's the inevitable future is always going to change, and being ready for that and having prepared for that with the way you do your operations and the people you have on board and the technology that you're choosing to support that transformation. That's crucial. Change, to have flexibility so that you can avoid getting locked into a corner or having a locked-in dependency to a certain vendor or to a certain way of working. That's very, very important. I think also scale. How can we cope with scale? Because we know we're going into a domain where we will need more and more information, and dimensions of information will just increase. So having the ability to manage that type of scale is also very crucial, so that you don't invest incrementally in 10 different places to manage scale, but rather think of it as one investment. How can we have a strategy that allows us to put our money where it really matters, so that we don't have to spread that investment across many different silos and instances?
And can the infrastructure, the legacy infrastructure that's already in place at utilities, can it cope with that level of scale and change?
Oh no. I mean the legacy equipment and the stacks we have, they're purpose-built for a purpose that it's not the future. It's purpose-built for the business processes that they need to operate today, and for the actual results that are demanded yesterday. So obviously going forward, we need to consider having a different type of architecture and IT landscape. But it's not about a big bang replacement approach. It's more about finding a good, nimble way of implementing and developing new types of solutions in parallel to the legacy equipment and stacks that we have, so that you gradually can move new solutions from the old environment and improve them on top of the new architecture, which many times is based on analytics and machine learning and better insights, basically, and automation through as well.
And where do you see utilities in that process now? Are we at the start of that process, or does it differ around Europe?
It differs a lot, I would say. I mean, just across these 2 days we've been here, and the last year I met companies. I mean, we can take a small country like Sweden. You have companies who have evolved and come very, very far in that transformation, and then you have other utilities who are pretty large. They're still stuck in the in starting blocks, more or less. So I would say it differs very much.
And when utilities are stuck in the starting blocks like that, what tends to be the roadblocks?
I would say it's not technology. It's not the inability to select the proper sort of supporting infrastructure. It's about people, I would say. It's about having the mandate to change and having the people behind you that supports this transition, and basically building bridges in people's minds so that they understand how this change will basically be affecting them in a good way.
And is that because traditionally it's an industry of engineers, and this isn't as much about engineering? Is that part of it?
protectionism, or whatever you call it in English. I mean, that's the key word. It's about people who have claimed a space, who are very comfortable with what they know, and moving out of that space is many times uncomfortable. And engineers, absolutely, I'm one myself, and it's about forcing yourself to accept new things, and gradually you will adopt them and make them yours.
So talking of adoption, how would you summarize the business case for implementing this kind of change?
I spoke to Alpeak just a couple of weeks ago about that, and Christian Jakobsson, their head of optimization, he said that, well, it's simple, Jonas. He said, either you do this or you don't do business. So it's not so much about how much money you put in and how much money you get back. It's about existence, basically, I would say. It's,
so you're of the belief that utilities are kind of staring at that cliff in terms of their existence?
Yeah, I mean, it's super hard. And if you take a retailer in any type of industry, a utility retailer or a retailer in a telecom perspective, they all share the same kind of challenge. How do we invest in customer experience when it doesn't really bring anything concrete directly in terms of revenue back? It's an indirect value, keeping customers happy and satisfied with your service, but it doesn't really give you a direct one-to-one kickback on the investments you do. And it being stuck in that dialogue will not take you anywhere.
So let's assume that a utility is out of the starting blocks, to carry on that analogy. How about the speed of change? Is that a key component, and how do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely is. It's probably one of the most important aspects of this, I would say. It is a combination of having an organization in place that really drives change. I've seen this done in multiple ways, and the most effective way of doing it is having a horizontal sort of transformation group that has the pure mandate to go in and disrupt the way you do business in your silos, in your trading, in your generation, in your retail business, and really, forcing new ways of working and new ways of thinking into those organizations that are very much colored by a historical, traditional way of working. So it's an organizational perspective, but that organization needs technology, because that organization will have people who are data scientists, software engineers, it's business people, but they all need to come together in a technology somewhere down the line. And having that technology there in that group that manifests their momentum to really drive that change, that's the enabler for speed of change. So it's a combination there, I would say, between people, organization, and technology. But mandate is key to change.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good note to end on. So, Jonas, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. And thank you very much for joining us in the Engerati studio. And remember, there are more video interviews available on our Engerati YouTube channel.